Hey everyone, Igor here with Trumpet. Most trumpet players are taught to listen for high notes, train upper register notes, and play high, and when they're able to play high, they get really excited, and there's nothing wrong about that. But true upper register playing and lead playing comes from being able to focus on what the high notes feel like. In my last video, I talked about overblowing. I demonstrated what it sounds like, why it's so common, and why it makes high notes so exhausting. Today, we're going to stay on a similar topic, which is the upper register, but we're going to talk more about the physical aspect and approach to high notes, but what they are supposed to feel like when you are playing in the upper register the right way. Feel is something you can tweak on the spot while you're playing your high notes. Let's talk about the most important part of this, which is sound versus feel. When you play high notes, everything can affect the way they sound. You could be playing on a shallow mouthpiece or a deep mouthpiece. You could have done a good warm-up that day or a bad warm-up, or you could have warmed up too many low notes and now you can't really play high. You could be in a space where the room is dead, the sound is dead, or you could be in a parking structure. And I have a theory of why high notes actually are easier to play in a parking structure, which I actually have a short about, I think. It's just for giggles. But when you play a note in a space like a parking structure or a space with a lot of reverb, you actually have to try less, a lot less effort to get a beautiful sound on your instrument. Which then, in your brain, you're like, okay, I don't have to try as hard to produce this beautiful sound. So that same thing applies when you play higher notes. You actually end up trying less to hit those high notes, and that's why for me, I started doing this years ago, and I only recently realized that, wait, I'm overblowing, I'm forcing these notes. So that's sound, right? That's the effect of the mouthpiece, the gear, the space you're in, and the warm-up. Now, feel is immediate. While you are playing this instrument, you feel what is happening in your embouchure and with the air that's going through this instrument and what's coming out. And if you practice consistency, you get really good at feeling your practice sessions, when things are gonna go well, when things are gonna go bad. Feel is immediate and you can make adjustments on the spot. Now let's talk about what high notes should not feel like. They shouldn't feel like a sudden spike of tension or pressure in the body when you're trying to hit a high note. It shouldn't feel like you're trying to exert all of your physical energy that's left to hit a specific high note or to hold a specific high note. And it also shouldn't feel like you're making the high note happen by pressing the horn so much into your face that it's unhealthy and that it's just jammed into your lips just to increase the air speed and the air pressure into the horn. So these feelings usually mean the player is reacting to what's happening rather than controlling the situation. And that just comes from not enough experience, not enough practice, or not enough understanding of how high notes work, and just not enough time spent training them. When high notes are working, the air feels organized and not dumped. The embouchure is tight here and very controlled, not squeezed. And the body you're also controlling your physical exertion and not just tensing up. As the volume increases, the effort also increases, but the coordination of the body to play those high notes does not change. There's a simple way to check your feel and how high notes feel for you, which is to play them quietly. And that's actually my favorite thing to do and my favorite way to work on my upper register. If you can't play high notes softly, that means you don't have the coordination for that yet or the embouchure strength for that yet. So you need to work on that and develop that. Soft upper register playing exposes your feel of high notes, your understanding of high notes, and your efficiency of playing in the upper register. Now this is where overblowing shows up, and this is how it directly relates to this, because when things get challenging, we tend to push and overblow. When we can't hit specific high notes or specific phrases, we push and overblow, and that messes up the feel. So if you're able to hit specific high notes quietly one day, or even slightly louder one day, and you understand how those notes feel, do the same thing the next day and the next day. Focus on the feel of those high notes instead of when things get hard to overblow, because eventually, even at higher volumes, you'll start focusing on how they feel, and you'll be able to produce that sound and that note, and you won't have the urge to overblow or force any notes out anymore. When you're practicing in the upper register and you're playing higher and higher, don't focus on whether you're just able to hit specific notes or if the notes come out. Focus on how those notes feel. Now, obviously, when you play higher and higher, they're gonna feel a little bit different. Your body's gonna feel a little bit different. There is a little bit more effort. But in general, it shouldn't be a drastic change of force or pressure. Focus on how it feels and do that every day. If the feel changed or you started forcing something, that's your signal to slow down or bring the exercise down lower. One of the best things that I suggest to students to increase their upper register is to feel better on the notes, on one or two notes below their highest note. So let's say your highest note is a double F, and you're working on that double F or the G. Now, I can almost assure you that if your highest note's an F, the D and the E below that don't feel very good, and they don't feel very comfortable. If you work on those notes and you work on the feel of those notes and work on making those notes feel comfortable for you to just kind of sit on those notes, that's gonna train your embouchure, that's gonna train everything in your body to actually go up higher to the other notes. Because if you noticed, for upper register lead players who can play pretty high, a lot of the C, D, E, F range notes, which is above the staff there, just feels much, much easier for them. They're able to they look a lot more comfortable in that register. And that's because they have more in the tank and it's higher. They're able to play higher notes. So a great way to develop the upper register is to pick one or two notes below your highest note that you can comfortably spend a good amount of time on, and practice that note just like you're working out a muscle. Hold that note quietly for some time, then go down to a low note or just take the horn off your face. Practice that high note or a specific phrase quietly up in that register, relax, take the horn off your face. Work in smaller sections. If you're working the upper register, don't work in long periods of time. It doesn't always help because then you end up possibly overworking your lips. So just like when you're training any muscle, you do want to put some strain on it and then relax it. The exact warm-up I use to develop all of this, to develop the feel of my notes, to get myself ready for any type of playing that I need to do, I put it in a PDF. It's in the description if you want to check it out. That's there. I also talk a lot about this type of stuff in the overblowing video. If you haven't watched that video yet, I think I'll link it up here somewhere, and it'll also be in the description. Strong high notes don't come from chasing the sound, they come from chasing the feel, understanding it, and repeating it each time. Now for me, when I just started playing the trumpet, I did chase the high notes. With Wayne Bergeron, James Morrison, Maynard Ferguson, I listened to what they did and I chased those high notes. But now, I'm older, 20 years of trumpet playing later, I understand that the consistency is actually in the relaxation and in the focus of how the upper register feels when I'm playing up there. This is what makes the high notes dependable and consistent. I truly hope that this video helps some of you with your upper register and just your approach, your mental approach to playing high notes. If you made it this far and you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. And I'm very excited to make more videos like this and other types of videos in the near future. So I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and God bless you all.